Hello there.
Another week.
Hello out in internet land.
That's right. Good old internet land.
Good old internet land.
You're really showing your age this week.
I'm old. I get it. It's okay. But I'm also the best looking one out of the group. So,
hey.
So this week, week 9 preview, not letting anybody counter that real quick. So yeah, we're going to preview week 9. We're obviously going to talk about our picks from last week. We're going to talk about, is there a midseason elite team and who's having some offensive coordinator trouble. So go grab your drink. We'll see you in a second.
All right, we're back. We're back.
We are back.
All right. So we had an amazing. Oh, well, and now he's gone. All right.
He just really wanted to be
Luke,
special.
Yeah. He's like, we're back, and I'm gone. Screw y'all.
I'm back.
He's back.
Feels that hurt.
Anyway, he just really wanted to be back. More.
Again,
dramatic entrance. That's it.
It is. You know how I am, full of drama.
Man, we had such a great weekend of games. Oh man, it was so much fun. Especially for me. When your team beats their biggest rival, huh?
Mind you weren't going to even pick that game.
I wasn't going to pick the game. I wasn't going to pick the game, not because of the fact that was just because I was just mad at how Tennessee's offensive performance has been.
But see, I feel like if we didn't pick it, good luck probably wouldn't have happened. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
No, it has to be. Me and Luke told you, hey, go pick your team. They'll do well. Just pick them.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah.
We're already bringing
since we're going to bring it up. So my pick last week for a game of the week was Tennessee versus Bama. Of course, it was played at Neyland. And Tennessee has now beaten Bama twice at home in the past 3 years, which is impressive considering the fact that they couldn't win for 15 plus before that. And so, it was a weird game. The start, the first 2 quarters was just, it felt like Tennessee was just back off to a normal, the offense doesn't know what they are start. I should say, started with a phenomenal first drive that ended in the first fumble Dylan Sampson's ever made. And then it gets, And then it gets turned over to Bama, and Bama does Bama things. But Tennessee's defense at this point,
lose to Vanderbilt.
No, Tennessee's defense. No,
no, I'm saying Bama's doing Bama things like lose to Vanderbilt.
They lost to the Tennessee team. So
they lost to another Tennessee team.
They won't be putting MTSU on their schedule anytime soon.
Yeah. So
Chattanooga either.
I've seen so many Bama fans make all the excuses, from ref related stuff to Milroe was hurt the entire game, he shouldn't have played, to why were they playing Milroe anyways, because he's just going to leave. He's not a good fit for the system. I'm like, hold on. Why is this being brought up now after you guys lose? My favorite excuse that has come out of this week is Tennessee pumps in noise into the stadium to make it as loud as it is. I'm like, yes, except for the fact that we all know, if you've gone there, it isn't. It's not artificial noise. The speaker system there sucks, so it can't really do.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's bad. But I'm like, so it's just the fact that they were all running with that is hilarious to me. So
you gotta remember, Alabama fans don't know how to lose.
No, they don't.
That's the one thing you're seeing this week. Now, honestly, losing to Vanderbilt is tough.
Sure.
Like, when you have the type of record you've had against against Tennessee, again, it's kind of tough. They are used to being dominant. We talked about this before the season started. Is what's going to happen when you start getting 1 or 2 losses.
Yep.
And what is happening is they are turning against themselves. They are turning against their team. I mean, Milroe has not done anything to say he's leaving, to even insinuate it. but yet now all of a sudden, why are we playing him?
Yeah, and
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it goes
to show like there's teams that rent players for 1 year, so I'm sure you're gonna play your best player. And he's easily the best player. Like,
yep.
Well, and so again, there was just it was I'm not even going to look at the box score just because of the fact that it was one of those games. It was very ugly for about 75% of the game. And it was very ugly 100% of the game for Bama. Tennessee for about 75%. Tennessee made adjustments in the second half like they tend to do. Bama didn't, because DeBoer doesn't make adjustments.
Nope.
Said it before, say it again. He doesn't make adjustments. He's going to have to learn. You have to. And Tennessee ended up not just down their throat, but Tennessee's passing game actually showed up and started clicking, which is what the rest of the SEC doesn't want to see. So it's just one of those things. Like I think coming out of this game, Tennessee is primed. They're on a bye week this upcoming week, but they're primed to at least beat everybody but Georgia on the rest of. I think Georgia is their only major toss-up at this point. If they continue.
What about Vanderbilt?
If
major toss-up. Major toss-up.
They were more efficient versus Bama's defense than you guys. I'm just saying.
There's again, as I said my caveat, which again you seem to forget. My caveat is if they continue to click, their offense is more efficient. Tennessee's offense is more efficient than Vanderbilt's.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just like if they continue to click, then the only toss-up game is going to be Georgia. And I'll also preface this: Vanderbilt is playing amazing football right now, but there is a very high likelihood they don't have any gas in the tank by the end of November. They're playing November 30th. So
no, which is fair. Like I have a coworker who's actually a Bama fan. Every time we talk about just Vanderbilt football, he's like, "No, he's like Vanderbilt is a great football team. They're legit. They're 100% there." I'm like, literally the week before you guys played, you're saying they suck, they have no chance, and now you just change your entire tune. And he's like, "Well, yeah, man, they got to be one of the best teams in the SEC right now."
Yeah,
I'm like, because they beat us.
Yeah, because
that was the whole reason. That was the whole reasoning. I'm like, I'm not denying it, but it's just like I love how Bama fans change their tune. There's versus Tennessee, like they're changing their tune entirely. I guess with the SEC. Now.
Any given day, one team can beat another, but Vanderbilt is like the only one that everybody questions on that.
Oh yeah,
Like, I mean, it was 60 years or something like that, but since they had But yeah, it was fun. I had taken the kids to Boo at the Zoo here in Nashville.
Okay.
And it was towards the end of the game, and I had it up on my phone, and I'm like pushing our little cart with my phone up, and that interception, the game-sealing interception by Will Brooks, like I see the interception, I'm just like, cool, and then I heard like, yeah, woo, like
all these like random, just like
everybody around. It was like 40 people around, like it was just like, yeah, Tennessee wins, woo. So it was like, yes,
great sound system. Like it's all around.
But it's that round sound stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
it was fun. It was fun to kind of be out and about and like hear like just even in a random place like the zoo, like all these Tennessee fans just being like, yeah, and good for them for being out with their family.
Sure,
of course, still watching the game.
Of course, they know what's up. They know what's up.
They're making sure the important things are covered, man.
And that's why those questions about the wedding or the game, you can do both now, guys.
Yeah.
You can be at the wedding and be present and still be watching football on your phone.
My buddy turn on closed caption and you're fine.
My buddy who's a Florida fan sent me a video after Tennessee won. He's like, yeah, this is what happens when Tennessee wins and you're at a wedding in Tennessee. They were playing Rocky Top at the reception.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm just like, awesome. That's what they should do. Unless they're fans. Even more so. Just play Dixieland Delight, which is
there you
go. So what other games happened this weekend? I'm trying to remember what
so I'll go Texas Georgia. We'll go that one. That was
a game that this weekend.
What's that?
That was a game that happened this weekend.
That was a game that happened this weekend.
Obviously, that could have been forgettable because it was
man, like
Log.
again, kind of like the Georgia Alabama game. Like it started off with just kind of this Texas. What is going on?
Sure.
Obviously, I think Texas got introduced a little bit to the SEC game style, the kind of the big game presence of SEC.
Sure.
They played Oklahoma obviously earlier this year, and Oklahoma and Texas, I think, is kind of that what they're used to. That's the kind of game that they're used to. And while the Red River rivalry is a big game for former Big 12 and for those two teams, we're kind of, I think, seeing that it doesn't really measure up gameplay wise to SEC football. And I am a Big Ten guy saying that. So before people come at me, just know that. But yeah, no, I think couple things that I saw. Obviously, Georgia is starting to look more like the Georgia that we're used to, being a little bit more dominant, taking over games, kind of putting that stranglehold on teams. But then I also want to give it to Texas for being down as big as they were and fighting and clawing and, really being a couple plays away from being back in the game and it being, possibly a comeback. Ewers he's starting to get that Jay Cutler disease, where you don't know if he's going to be the best quarterback on the field or can we get somebody else? He kind of showed that a little bit, and we'll see. I'm starting to wonder if we're not going to see Arch Manning a little bit more going forward. True. And if they're going to just kind of go, you know what, we don't like where we are with our placement, that, if they get another loss, I definitely can see them doing that. Sure. But it was a good game. Obviously, the big story surrounding the Texas-Georgia game was the interception that was called pass interference, and Texas fans made their
SEC debut.
SEC debut, that they made their anger known by throwing bottles on the field, which is dumb. Like anybody who does that, you're dumb. Like that's just, it stops the game. It makes your fan base look like trash. Yeah. You can be angry. That's fine. But like, that's what that's what I'm working on with my kids is we can be angry. That's a fine emotion. However, you have to control your actions revolving that emotion. And so, but now on the reverse side of that, I do think that the refs made the right call. I do not think that it was a defensive pass interference. I think that they made the right call overturning it and giving Texas the ball back. In all that, I mean, the receiver never turned around. He never turned to look for the ball. The receiver made the contact. He's the one who contacted the defensive back. And really the defensive back just kind of got him off of him, caught the ball and ran. I mean, so I think they made the right call. But kind of, it's one of those, welcome to the SEC, Texas. And your fans didn't handle it very well.
No, they didn't handle it well. But I will say, like, I think one of the things that it kind of showed was there is a small need. I don't think it's a huge need. I think there's a small need out there for bigger penalties to be reviewable to some degree. Like,
especially with like that, like game changing, momentum, everything. Like,
and so like, and it should be, maybe it doesn't come down from the head like review office or whatever at the game. It's the actual coach does have to review it. And they have to use their potential review to try to overturn it. But it's one of those things, like the fact that USC got over, like what got overturned was by by Minnesota, where a play gets overturned, cannot be reviewed again, and everything like that. And Minnesota's granted a touchdown when they never got a touchdown. And then afterwards, Big Ten comes out and says, oops, we made a mistake. Like, it's just try to eliminate as much of that on the field as possible. We have so much technology. There's no excuse for it anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, even on that though, like there's a specific team in the ACC that's undefeated because the call has been overturned in their favor. I'm just saying.
When have we ever been a show that doesn't name names, Dennis?
Listen,
I didn't want to throw any names, but it's a team in Florida and it's the south of Florida.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not USF either.
Haven't there been a bunch of hurricanes?
There have
recently?
been, some dolphins have found their way up on the shore too. So I don't know. I've heard that I heard the hurricanes and the dolphins are in the same area. So
yeah, I mean, I would say I like that. Like, I do think that there needs to be, especially for these big momentum swinging, things. I would like it to come down to a call in. I don't think I don't want that to be on a coach. I don't want that to drag the game on because a coach is challenging, we're challenging every big call. And I know that there would be limits on how many and how often and whatnot, but I like the idea of the conference stepping in and going, okay, hold on, we're going to take a look at this.
I think it should be a conference, a different conference entirely, though. I don't think it should be, if it's an SEC game, I don't think it should be the SEC conference.
Or I think
favoritism.
I think it should be us.
I mean, I'll do it.
We'll do it.
Yeah. Just dial it. If you think that was an illegitimate, dial 1 now. Dial that son of a gun.
Donate to the tailgate.
I will say another thing that does need to be addressed, because this actually happened in the Alabama game, is flopping. It was funny, and they actually did get penalized. So, and it was because they had 12 men on the field. But I don't know, Luke, if you saw it or not, but basically they had a guy that was like, no, I'm not supposed to be on the field. He ran off and they're like, no, we need time. So he pushes him back on the field and he falls down. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but what that should be, my personal opinion, is it's not on the player. It needs to be on the coach. And that's an immediate ejection for the coach. I think the coach should be immediately ejected, the one that either signaled or the one that, in that case, pushed him back onto the field. Nope, sorry, you're ejected.
That obvious. As obvious as that one was, that's
well, and I think that's the that's the frustrating thing is with everything that Ole Miss has been doing, with the stuff that now Bama's doing, it is so blatant. And essentially you are getting to a point where it's okay, the risk versus the reward. Okay, we're going to get penalized. Okay, there's going to be people who are going to talk about it, but we're going to get this, we're going to get this 5-yard penalty. We're going to get to regroup and we're going to get to go kind of, kill their momentum. So they are playing the game of what's the bigger, is it more of a risk or is it more of a reward? And that shouldn't be the case. It should be yes, you're going to have an ejection. And I honestly, with those type of things, I would even take it a step further. Regardless of the coach who pushes them on, it's the head coach's responsibility, and the head coach gets ejected.
Yeah, I'd say two of those calls, the head coach gets ejected. Only because, again, it's possible the head coach didn't initially, but if you're seeing a pattern, that's a different.
Well, and my whole thing, it goes back to the whole you are the CEO, you are supposed to have control, and all it takes is hey, do not do this. And if you do that, it's the head coach is dictating everything else. And while he may not be the one who says push them, there is a culture, there is a way of thinking, there is all this stuff that permeates those teams. And so they know hey, the coach is going to be okay with us doing this to save, whatever. So that's the only reason I kind of go that way. But
that's fair.
Either way.
Anyway, so Dennis, what your game of the week?
I don't know if I would really necessarily call it a game, man, to be honest with you. It was, I feel like more flags should have been thrown into this because there's obviously just a whole lot of roughness in this game. Indiana just blew out Nebraska 56-7. And I feel like in no part of the game was this ever even a game.
No.
Nebraska came into this game with actually not allowing a single rushing touchdown, and by the end of the game, they allowed 5. So that kind of tells you how the game went,
right?
And kind of another interesting fact about the game too: Nebraska actually had more time with the ball than Indiana at the end of the day. It was from 32 minutes to 27 minutes. So, the fact that you had this much more time and the score is that big, that means Indiana's efficiency was off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually, I had whole lot of fun watching them. And I remember we were all in the group chat just texting one another about it, sending memes and just like clips of everything. I love the fact that Coach Sig is basically he seems like Saban. He's even winning, being up 28-7, being up like 56-7. He still did not look any part happy. He did not smile. I was like, I kind of loved it though. Like he has his team just rolling.
He's got the killer eyes, man. Yeah.
So I feel like it was great watching kind of Indiana just kind of blow out Nebraska. And for Nebraska supposedly having this like incredible defense kind of coming on to all this year. And Indiana's just like, cool, great. We'll test it out. It was a good match. And so like I love the traction that Indiana's picking up as far as how far they're going to go. I have no idea how they played this past week versus a team that is actually a contending team. It's not just a mid-level team for the most part. Like they blew them out. I'm kind of curious how they're going to be able to hold their own versus the next couple of weeks, especially versus like Ohio State in the next few weeks. So I know me and Luke were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing where, we talked about like Vanderbilt earlier and how Vanderbilt's like, are they going to have enough? Get to November, are you going to have enough depth? Are you going to have enough? Signetti, usually that's kind of the same question you'd have about Indiana, is like, what's that depth going to look like? Can you keep this going? But they have looked good no matter who's on the field.
Yep.
So it's like it seems to be that he has everybody coached up, that even the depth guys on the team are coming in and are doing their job very, very well. Not to mention I think that his demeanor and his confidence or cockiness or whatever you want to call it, I think that has permeated that team in a way that very few coaches can do, because that whole team just looks like they play the way that he comes across in like the interviews, like the comments that we've seen about like, yeah, all I do is win, just Google me. Right. That is how they play. And as an Ohio State fan, I still remember the days losing to Iowa and losing to Purdue in these games where you're just like, oh yeah, we're supposed to win this one. And Indiana is the type of team that does scare me this year.
Sure.
They're the type of team who just has that confidence, has that, kind of, yeah, that's fine.
Scrappy and they've got swagger. So
I mean, to even put it to that, to Luke was saying though, too, it's not even just like their skill position players, kind of like who's up next and be trained from like, hey, you're second string or third string, but you're playing like the first string. Their quarterback, Rourke got hurt like in the beginning of the third quarter. You put in your backup, he went 7 for 8. And he wasn't throwing like little, DJU passes like behind the line or 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. He actually was throwing like 20, 30-yard passes like out, and to go for 7 for 8 and finish with 91 yards and 2 TDs. It just goes through like they did not miss a beat even with their backup quarterback.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah. Which I think leads us into one of our first conversation topics for the evening is we're at midseason, and why does it feel like we really don't have any elite teams with maybe like, and again, I know that technically they're not one, but they right now feel like one because of how well they're playing. Indiana. Indiana feels like an elite team. Now, they've also not played the level of competition that would signify an elite team status. Yeah. But the way that they have won against all of their competition thus far has been very elite.
It's never been in question of any game. It's like, oh, we only won by, I think their closest game was like 3 scores or something like that.
Right.
So to what Michael was saying, it's like, nope, they won each one convincingly, like without a question.
But
they're still Indiana. I mean, like at the end of the day, like they're still Indiana, and that's no disrespect. Nope. That's just saying like the mentality of, man, they're playing really awesome and they look really good, but this is their first year under Signetti, and is this just like lightning in a bottle and they're going to hit a road bump?
Players, man.
Just man. Those JMU players, man.
Yeah, well, and
those Dukes, man.
Being elite does require sustainability and it requires depth. And right now we don't know what that looks like for Indiana. And so it's just like, but all the other teams that have had that, the Oregon, Ohio States, Bama, Georgia, Texas, at least just for the past, if we just go back 1 year, they seem to have some struggling moments this year. And
yeah, and I think, like, again, we talk transitive properties a lot and just kind of like how fun that is. And I think when you talk about the feeling of elite, like when you feel elite, you just feel like there is no other team that could beat you. Like, you're going to have to go against another elite team. But then when you look at the top teams, okay, so you've got Oregon, who struggled against Boise State, who beat Ohio State. And then who else did they struggle with early in their year?
It was Utah. No, it was Iowa State.
Somebody that.
What am I talking about? It was
like Iowa State's undefeated.
Idaho State.
Idaho State, yeah. So, but all that to say, like, while they have a big win against Ohio State, they have some struggles against, while Boise State's ranked, they have some struggles against some other teams. Then you've got who's two now? Georgia, who loses to Alabama, who lost to Vanderbilt, who lost to Tennessee, who's not looking like an elite team. Then you've got a 3 Penn State, who struggled against USC, who's not looking great. You've got Texas, who loses to Georgia, who lost to Alabama. You've got Ohio State. So it's just this, like, you go through that top 10 and every team, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, they could be elite. But then you look at, like, the team that beat them and who beat that team. And it's just like, okay. And it's a weird, I don't know. I can't remember the last time we've had a year like this.
I think it's actually something that's going to continue on, honestly, even beyond this year.
I hope so.
Yeah, because I feel like it's more of like the NIL transfer portal kind of being more of a common thing, where Ohio State, Oregon, any of these, traditionally like great teams year in and year out, they always had depth where, like, hey, this senior left. Well, guess what? We have this junior left. Hey, guess what? We already have this. Like, you always have the next person, literally the next class ready to play. Now players are, most of the time, unless you're like just an amazing, incredible freshman player.
Unless you're JJ Smith.
Him or Ryan Williams, like the 17-year-old, you're not going to really you're not going to wait around for your chance. You're not going to wait around 2 years for your chance.
Right.
So you're going to go to these other teams. Let it be like transferring to Indiana. Let it be transferring to Texas A&M. All these lower teams were like, hey, that's why I feel like you're seeing kind of a group of 5 teams also kind of performing more efficiently, just overall, just kind of blowing teams out one over the other, just individual players just kind of succeeding more than, hey, where does this person come from? Like, how did they recruit them? And they're like, oh, wait, this person is a former transfer from this school. And it's like, they would have loved to have kept them there. So I feel like being the transfer portal what it is now and being as used as it is now, I don't think we're going to see the dominance of that before. You will still see glimpses of it, obviously, because the schools like, your 2 favorite schools, Tennessee and Ohio State, you guys have a great track record of like individual coaching, position coaches be able to keep a culture, but you're still going to have a couple of people leave because they want to play. At the end of the day, that's what they want to do. It's going to come to a cost. Hey, what's going to be more of a thing, like keeping a player or bringing in a new player?
Sure.
So I feel like the elite teams, you're going to see glimpses of them, but you're not going to see like now much like kind of like before, where you'll see it throughout the entire season. Like, oh, this team's elite regardless of what anybody says.
Yeah.
I think it's more easy now to see what will be more standard is that you'll more likely to see elite parts of a team in comparison to others. Like, and I mean, again, it's going to sound like I'm being a homer, but I would stack up Tennessee's defense against any offense in the country right now. And like, I would say that makes me, I think their defense at least is playing at an elite level. I don't think Tennessee's an elite team because their offense has not been clicking. They're not even been, they've been mediocre at best for the past 3 weeks. So that really drags the team down as a whole. I would say that Ohio State also has what seems like an elite defense. And so it's just like but I struggle saying that Georgia has either an elite defense or an elite offense because they've only looked good.
That's a lot better than their offense, though.
Right.
Huh?
Well,
sure.
and if they have really good offense and really good defense, is that going to beat a mediocre offense and a elite defense? I mean, you start playing those games and maybe, yeah. So,
I think I think Dennis, you're correct. It's going to be a lot harder for a team because of NIL and transfer portal. It's going to be a lot harder for a team to stack talent on both sides of the ball, and have buy-in year in and year out with all the position groups. So, I mean, so with that said, I guess we're saying that there's no elite teams.
There's no elite teams.
I kind of like it this way. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. I think
great.
I love parity. I love the fact that, like, one of the things we talked about in our chat was, look at this top 25. It has Army, Navy, and Vanderbilt in it. Like, this looks like the 1930s. Yeah. Like, you've got all this movement.
1980s.
Yeah. Penn State, Iowa State, Boise State, like all these state schools. And then, you do have some of the, the normal Ohio States, Alabamas, Georgias, Texas. But there's so much movement in all of it, and it's so much fun. And especially for the playoff, it's like somebody was asking me, like, how hard did you take that Ohio State loss? And I was like, nah, I took it really hard for about like an hour. And then I was like, we're still making the playoffs. Like, okay, we're still making the playoffs. It's okay. So it's going to be fun. And it just adds a different dimension. And you can, I am, as you guys never let me forget, that I am old than most people. And I like the old days. I like the old days. I like the BCS. The 14 playoff took me a long time to get used to.
I was never a big fan of the 14 playoff, man.
I like where college football is right now.
Yeah. Yep.
With all the differences and all the changes and stuff that I could complain about, I really like where it's at.
Yeah, Chris, we totally agree.
Yes.
Like the SEC, I mean, all conferences feel a lot more competitive, but the SEC in particular, top to bottom, you really don't know who's going to win a game. You've got to
include Mississippi State, though.
But even them,
you compete for like a quarter or two.
They put over 30 points on that very good defense at UVA. So they're figuring stuff out. Florida is figuring stuff out. So it's just like they're weird. They've been figuring stuff out. They've been getting better, which is what you want to see. You don't want to see a team start the year off and then just kind of go 1-6 or whatever it is. I mean, there's no teams that are doing that, right? Like, especially when they were like elite last year.
I mean, what team was actually elite last year?
I mean,
what team thought that they were elite?
Elite. So
they're close to the Hurricanes, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, kind of.
Like,
I mean,
some team down in Florida.
Bingo, Chris.
There we go.
Yes, we're
that was the word we were looking for.
FSU.
That was had a whole different spelling in my head.
It's really fun with all the dynamics that we have and how the three of us rarely, if ever, all agree on the same thing. We can agree that FSU is not elite. They are not elite.
They are the definition of utter dog water this year.
Right.
I would love to watch them play versus Vanderbilt, though.
I mean, I would love to see Vanderbilt score 60 points on a team.
Right.
So,
but, hey, I do got to mention though, the person that actually made the bet when the FSU season started, when they lost Georgia Tech, finally went through with it, ate the dog's food. So, and they play Miami this weekend. Let's see how much of a turnaround that actually happened.
I would laugh so hard.
If that was the reason, by all means. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Even if that's their only win for the rest of the year, if they used to do that to Miami, that fan base already is so upset. Right?
Yes, I agree.
We agree. We totally agree.
I just with what you were showing me. Ollie Doug. Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll get you if that's the case, Chris. We'll get you on the program next week.
That's a little bit better than dog poo. I mean, I definitely would rather eat dog food than dog poo.
Yeah. No, he's got kids to think about. He's not some single dude on Twitter.
Miami is with the thread that you were showing us from X. They have to be the most fragile, undefeated team that I've seen in a while. Like, just have fun being undefeated and enjoy winning. And when people question the strength of schedule or strength of record, I don't even remember. There's too many of all those like strength of stuff. But like to have to feel like you have to defend yourself, it's like, hey, people are going to question you, just move on. But they definitely do not like to be questioned. I mean, I know they haven't been relevant since Ohio State beat them in the national championship in 2002, but you know,
like they beat some teams that are good, but not good enough to be in the top 25. So like teams that you can't sleep on, but again, what does that mean? It's not even the one team you played is ranked.
Yep.
And you got to get some help for the refs.
Yeah. So to pull out 2 different wins at minimum. Anyways, so that leads us into we're talking troubles that some teams are having winning. There's some teams that really have been having some trouble winning, and have already started making some moves to get rid of their offensive coordinators. The most notable ones that we had were Purdue sacked their offensive coordinator after the team gave up.
I didn't know he was a quarterback.
Yeah. Wait, did I say quarterback?
He was.
You said they sacked him.
Oh, well, he was a quarterback before he took coach. So
it kind of fits.
So it works. So they sacked him both ways. So Purdue blamed him for the amount of points that was scored on their team. At least that's what I remember reading. And
right.
Teams having trouble winning. Try Alabama, not even a close game. Well, it felt a lot closer for some of the game than it probably should have been. If that offense was clicking, it really wouldn't have been a close game. But the fact that Purdue fired their offensive coordinator because their defense failed, it's hilarious to me. But then we also had Seth Luttrell from Oklahoma, who was also let go. That he was ungraciously fired mid-season. Another player from their 2000 Natty run. Just they love to just rub those guys' face in it. It's great. Just makes for better coaches for the rest of the country, I guess.
That's right. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, who was the last offensive coordinator that was let go? Who else did we have?
There was one from was it Trickett? Trickett from Coastal Carolina.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was the head coach.
No, he was OC and quarterbacks coach.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the head coach of East Carolina was let go.
Gotcha. Yes. I think it was one of the Carolinas.
Yeah. And then Utah's offensive coordinator has stepped down.
He stepped down. Which just means that they said they gave him a choice.
Yeah.
How do you want to be known as? Person who stepped down?
Right.
Or that we just said, hey, we have a
or they said, hey, by the way, we're going to try and get Cam Rising another year. And he went, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I have a theory. They're clearing the offensive coordinator position for Cam Rising. They're like, hey, we're not going to pay you as a player, but we'll pay you as a coach. That is my kind of just like, hey.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like that would make more sense than paying him to be able to get hurt.
I could get behind that theory.
I mean, the guy he clearly has a good offensive mind. He was a good quarterback at one point until he became
Mr. Glass over here. Like, oh, my pinky's hurt. I'm out for the season.
No, it was my pinky, and then my leg is what's going to keep
Right.
me out for the season.
Right.
So it's like, wait, they're not even. The only thing connected is because they're connected to your body.
Right.
They don't interfere with one another.
Which just tells you his brain's broken. Because that's the connecting.
So should he be a coach?
Well, his thinking portion's not broken.
Oh, okay.
It's just his pain receptors and whatnot are just all over the place.
So he's a pansy. He's really smart, but he's a pansy.
Sure. I mean, sounds like someone from Utah. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
100%
pissing everybody off today. Miami fans don't like us. Utah fans don't like us now.
They specifically don't like me, which is fine. No, we have a ton of respect for the Utah fan base and the Utah team. And
they were our favorites. All of our favorites, I think.
Yeah, to win the Big 12, and I think we're all going to be wrong.
They were, yeah, we are.
We're going to be.
Oh man.
Very wrong.
So
I think gonna be wrong.
We did have some like potential, like, I mean, granted, they're not offensive coordinators, but we did have some like, honorable mentions for offensive minded coaches that are potentially going to get sacked. And I know one of them we've already kind of alluded to, which is Mike Norvell. And anybody else, like, I mean, I know some people are going to say like Billy Napier, which I honestly, if he wins 2 or 3 games during the games that he's not supposed to win, probably won't be gone.
I feel like if he gets the 5 wins, honestly, like, look at his schedule and the fact that the games he won, they were convincing wins. So it's like, they're not, the losses that he has were actually like, it made sense. They weren't like, hey, like, I got blown out, 56-7. Like,
he reminds me this year of Saban last year, where it's like, you don't have the best team, you have kind of a difficult schedule, but you're coaching your tail off. Like, he seems to be just coaching a great, like, he's doing a very good job of coaching and coaching up his team to a point where it's like, man, they really are exceeding expectations to me.
I mean, I will give him the special teams coach that's under him was able to do, like, in the process of him trying to kick a field goal, was able to also execute a blocked field goal in the same play. So
yeah,
I don't know.
He got the other team to do it for him too.
Like,
pretty impressive.
He's like, I can do this myself.
I think the thing that's working for him is I think he's given up the idea of keeping his job, and he's focusing on developing the kids. Because I genuinely do think that he cares about them. I think that the way that he's playing, the way that he's coaching, from a standpoint of like between games, the way he's preparing them for games is shows a coach that actually does. And the kids clearly want to play for him. They're playing harder now. And that's great. I think.
Hopefully he's been listed.
Yep.
Like,
so, who knows? They may go play Georgia and get, whopped upside the head and then they just suck the rest of the year. But I mean, right now, since Tennessee's already beat them, I'm just going to root for them the rest of the year and just hope they win out because it makes Tennessee's win look better.
Hey, why not?
That's right.
You've always like deep down inside wanted to cheer for Florida. You just now have a reason.
It's his hometown. It's his home state. That's where he's originally from. So he has some love for it.
Sure. I mean, I have an affinity for some of their fans. That's about it.
I think another coach, offensive-minded coach, is obviously we've talked about Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, he needs to go.
I think it's time. The only thing, sorry, Indiana fans, I have a feeling like they would be going after Signetti.
Sure.
The only, I was texting you guys in our group chat about this, but he needs to go. Like, he has no excuse. The fact that like last year you had an excuse, hey, our defense just sucked. This year defense doesn't suck, but it definitely is not like an elite defense by no means. But only one team has actually scored over 30 points on you all year. So you should be able to, for being an explosive offense, for being a high level offensive guy, you're making some horrible calls.
Sure.
And
even some of the thought processes when he's getting asked hard questions by media, and the way he's responding and the way he's kind of not taking any blame, and it's kind of sad. The people are always going to try and shift blame, right? We're in this point where a head coach is always good. That's why offensive coordinators get let go week 7, because the team's not performing to expectations, and the head coach has got to do something. So he fires an offensive coordinator, and hey, that was the problem. I've got another year.
Which is fair. Like Lincoln Riley has been given, I feel like 1 year too many already, or 2 years are actually too many. But he's getting a lot of chances, and by different defensive coaches, people gave him, hey, well, the defense just sucked, and people are saying, hey, well, it's a new conference. It could be a new conference, but the fact that if your offense is only scoring 1 touchdown the whole second half, and it's not like you have a bottom tier team, you have USC. It's the talent wise there, they have a very talented team. People want to go play for them, either because of location or tradition. Like you have it, so it's not a problem. You obviously recruit high level players too, so it's like, what's the issue?
And you were somehow up on Penn State by 3 touchdowns and still lost the game.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's a coaching. That right there is a coaching issue.
Yeah. So to me, I'm like, he needs to go. If they bring in Coach Sig, I personally would be thrilled. But I think I put it in the group chat with you guys too as well. Like the rumors of his buyout would be ridiculous. I think so like 88 million. Like
sure. I mean, but sometimes you just got to pay it. Look at Texas A&M. Like they're rolling this year, and they wouldn't
not in the dough.
They're not. They may not be rolling well, but
they had to
bring it now.
All their dough.
They're now selling their stadium back out again.
That's true.
That does help. So
it does.
So it's just one of those things.
Hit 10 more seasons, and you've made your money back.
No, just sell enough hot dogs. I heard Aggies like hot dogs.
We got to push the dogs, guys.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to sell at least 4.
That's right. That's what those guys, those cheerleader guys talk about. Those, what are they called? Callers. They're like,
I can't say it on live. I'd get.
Yeah. Well, it's a little risque for most people.
That is. There are so many old traditions that I love. We as Ohio State, we've got Script Ohio, that it's just like, I love it. You've got all these old chants, and then they've got those dudes, and it needs to go away. It needs to stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're an interesting bunch of people.
And now we've pissed off Texas A&M. Check.
Which brings us into our games of the week. I guess I'll start. If you
Michael Barrett cheering squad,
right?
Yeah. So if you guys couldn't tell, my game of the week this week is going to be the LSU versus Texas A&M game. I mean, it is a neck and neck kind of game. It really could go either way. I think the edge is only being given to Texas A&M because it's at home.
Because they got the bigger neck.
Because they got the bigger neck. Yeah, exactly. You got it. So LSU has improved drastically since week 1. They look like a much better team than they did 5 weeks ago. But arguably so is Texas A&M. They look night and day different. I personally am going to give the edge to Texas A&M here. I think that they're coming off of a bye week. So I've been really impressed with the way that Elko has been preparing his team since the Notre Dame game. Like he's not allowed them to look past anybody. He's not allowed them to play as pitifully as they were playing. And everything about their offense and defense seems to be clicking immensely. So it feels a lot like the Tennessee Alabama game in the sense that feels like two equilibrium teams that have a lot going for them. They have playoff aspirations on the line. They have conference championship aspirations on the line. I just think Texas A&M probably wants it more. Their fan base wants it more. LSU fans will tell you they want it, and I believe them. But they've been to the conference championship in recent memory. They've won a natty within the past 5 years. So, I just don't think they're as hungry as Texas A&M, who has never been to either one, or has never won the SEC championship. And I don't think, and ever since joining the SEC, they have not even come close to sniffing a natty.
LSU fans are so drunk all the time that they probably don't remember winning a national championship.
Oh no, they remember.
I don't know.
That's the only thing they know.
That's true.
like they always bring it up. Well, we won the natty. Okay, cool. When 2019, I was like, what do you know about it? We won.
We won.
If you name me a player, you have a legit great amount of players you can name. They're like, well, we won though.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we won. That's all.
His name was Bo Juro, I think.
Yeah, they're like he had a single digit number, or maybe possibly a double digit. I'm like, that's a great guess. Like, I'll give you that. But he was basically where it ends.
All right. So who wants to go next? Who wants to go next with their game of the week?
I think I'll do mine.
He'll do his.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's a game that a lot of people are thinking about, and a few people are surprised about
that they're thinking about it.
Yes, actually, I would think so. If you're not a fan of either team, I feel like people are just surprised that this is actually a possible game of the week and a game to kind of like possibly look into. But I have Notre Dame versus Navy, and even though the matchup predictor is going basically 91% and 9%, if you look at the spread, it's actually only the fact that it's only like 12 and a half points.
Vegas is a lot closer than you expect for a 10-point deficit FPI.
Like I think I've seen some places do like from like 6. I think I've seen a low of 6. I'm trying to remember where, but I don't know what Vegas has it, but it's the fact that it's that close to the game, but yet the match predictor is like that big of a difference is crazy to me. Navy, I feel like, is not a team of like probably historically ever before. Definitely not in the last 80 years.
I was about to say it depends on how far back in history you go.
Like if you go back 80 years, this is the first time that they've actually been, considered a good team, and I think even ranked overall. But another thing to actually take note is this team can actually throw. Yes, they run like 85 to like 95% of their plays, but they're actually not afraid to throw. Their quarterback has over 800 passing yards right now, midway through the season. Usually that's their total for the entire year.
Yeah.
And he has 10 TDs and I think 0 picks all year. 1 pick. So the fact that they're able to, I don't want to see being kind of a balanced offense, but they can throw the ball if they really need to or want to, and kind of catch people off guard while running their triple option or probably quadruple option, whatever they want to do nowadays. I feel like it's a team you definitely got to watch out for. But I've also seen red facts where like, hey, I think they're basically in last place in the amount of plays like they kind of they typically run, but they're actually ninth in efficiency. So the fact that level of like disparity is wild.
Yeah, but if you're holding the ball, you're running out the clock. That's part of their game, is making you be efficient with your offensive things.
And Notre Dame has not really been known to be, the most pass happy team or even the most successful passing team so far this season. So if they're running the ball and killing time and Navy's able to over time, it's going to come down to like, hey, who ends up pulling the ball last? And at the end of the day, I don't know about Navy's kicker, but like, we'll see. Like, I'm actually excited for this. I want Navy to win. I'm hoping they win. Just because we've talked about this before, to be able to see Navy and possibly Army being undefeated at the very end of the season and possibly fighting for a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think none of us would have ever imagined or thought about, and the fact that it's a possibility is definitely something I would love to see.
The only thing that I root for almost as much as Ohio State is chaos.
That's another reason why I want this too.
I like chaos.
Yeah.
So that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I personally love chaos. So it's great. This is a great year for it.
It is.
Mind you, Navy didn't have to bring any transfers in. All the players that they did was literally trained on their own behalf.
So why is it working for them and not for Clemson?
The culture.
It's because Navy doesn't allow you to have a thought.
It's called discipline, guys. It's just
when you enlist with them, you enlist.
That's right.
I know all about the discipline in the Navy. Yeah.
Going back to those.
Yeah, South Pacific, all that stuff, man. It's great. So what you got for us, Luke?
We can sail the 7 seas in the Navy. You can put your mind at ease in the Navy. Okay, Indiana, Washington.
It a lot about you.
So yeah, I'm going Indiana, Washington. I think the big thing, like obviously, I think all of us have really enjoyed watching Indiana do what they're doing. The predictor here,
he never believed in Signetti, even at SMU. So
he wasn't. He was at James.
Sorry. He's always been a hater.
Yeah,
and you didn't like him enough to know where he's from either, Dennis. But all that to say,
I'm so surprised that SMU is even relevant. So
yeah, but I think that this is one of those where Washington is not. They're not an Ohio State. They're not an elite team because there are no elite teams according to us. But they're not an Ohio State or a Georgia or any of those teams that are really going to come in and be a hard matchup, so to speak. But I think Washington is going to be harder than what Indiana has faced thus far. Washington has played some good games. Their defense has shown that they can kind of step up, make some stops. With Michigan obviously is not the same Michigan from last year. Their running attack is still it can be pretty dominant with equal to lesser defenses. So Washington has a defense that can kind of stick with Indiana. And I think this is going to be an interesting one just to see really where is Indiana. Obviously, they're better than they have been. They're 7-0. They're a good team, but I think this is going to kind of give us a little bit more of a measuring stick of where Indiana is. What is that spread? What is it? 6.5. I will. That one's a tough one. That one's tough. Yeah. No, I'm just like 6.5. That's a tough one. If this was like 10. I would say that I thought Washington might cover that, but I don't know about this one. I think Indiana's going to win. I think I'm going to say they're going to cover. I think they're going to win by 10 or so against Washington. But I think this is really going to be one of those games that kind of pushes Indiana to see, like, what are you made of?
Sure.
What are you made of? So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, I mean, we got some good games this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Regardless of whether or not my team's playing, it's still going to be a fun weekend.
Well, and some of the other ones just, that we're not necessarily picking. I think Boise State UNLV is going to be a fun game to watch. You've got Oklahoma, Ole Miss. So we're going over under 7 on how many times Ole Miss fakes an injury. Post your comments over under 7. Ole Miss faking injuries. Who else we got here?
If they're losing by at least 14 by halftime, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. So Alabama, Missouri is going to be a fun game. I think the Oregon, Illinois, another top 25 matchup in the Big Ten matchup there. So that one will be a good one.
Duke is surprisingly really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Very quiet.
Duke is good. Miami, Florida State. I mean, I know, but Miami fans are crying because nobody's given them as much attention, and Florida States are crying because they are kind of where they are. But that I think will be fun. And then another Kansas State, I think could be a good game. So
yep. There's one other game that's going to be, I think it's going to be the true highlight of the weekend.
Hawaii, Nevada.
You got it.
Auburn, Kentucky.
Yeah. See,
I remember you talking about being an SEC game. That's all. So I was like, Auburn and Kentucky.
So, but I just think, I don't know. Does Vandy have the magic again?
Ooh.
Vandy plays Texas. Everybody's like, Texas is going to play tough and they're going to be like mad and mean and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know. I got a feeling that Texas might like go into this game still thinking they're just going to upset Vanderbilt, like just steamroll them, because everybody just has that belief that they're just going to do that. I mean, the stadium right now,
at home too.
Yeah.
They had enough time to be able to put up the field goal post again. So
hey, all I'm saying, if Vanderbilt wins, I am going downtown and I am helping with the goalpost.
Hey,
the
go for it.
They put up a new goalpost before they finished the stadium. I mean, they still haven't finished the stadium, but they were able to do something at least.
Maybe they need to get the people who put up goalposts to put up their stadium.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. I don't know. But anyways, maybe this is the first real game where Vandy just falls off. I don't think that's going to happen. They've continued to look solid, and they're
Vandy
right
wins,
now.
How much do they jump up in the rankings? Like,
well,
four. Number 4.
You just know the random numbers like 4. they go to the race, Luke. I'm just asking.
But I think they'd be sniffing top 10, easily sniffing top 10. I think they should be at that point. And Texas should be rightfully below everybody else.
Everybody.
It should be like
Vanderbilt goes to the top 10 and Texas drops to 132.
Exactly.
Like imagine though, like Vandy wins and it's like say like Vandy's 10, Texas 11, and Bama's is 12.
Yeah,
how funny that would be.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
That swap.
It'd be so.
And then
good.
Navy and Army are still ranked too. Like, geez, 2024.
Exactly, and just
Miami falls to Florida State. Like,
yeah, that I mean, even crazier of a year.
And Michigan's outside of the top 25. Going, wait, Vanderbilt, Navy, and Army.
Yeah, they'll be like, man, we're worse than those guys, and everybody's like, yep, you are.
Yep.
And anyways, well, thank you guys for joining tonight's tailgate. Come back next week, grab a drink, and join the conversation.